All right, guys. Good morning to you all. Almost afternoon here. It's 11:55 a.m. here on this Tuesday morning. We'll dive into a few things here. I got an interesting type of um, setup here today, and it's looking like we may escape the worst of this. But I do want to mention and highlight this just because the SPC is still highlighting a risk here today for the entire state of Michigan. Anywhere, if you're up in the Houghton and the UP, all the way down to Monroe County and the Lower Peninsula, the entire state is under a risk currently. That may change, though. I'll explain why here. But first, this is the SPC guidance. We're going to introduce this first. So, the highest risk, according to the SPC, is in far western Michigan, followed by a secondary risk here, level 2 risk in yellow. That is a larger portion of our state. And then that green is your lowest risk, level 1. That extends all the way through southeast Michigan and northern UP. All right. Hazards today, main one is going to be damaging wind, and that's really going to be our only concern, to be honest with you guys. The highest, again, is off to the west in the red zone where the enhanced level 3 risk is. Then that level 2 risk in yellow and the level 1 risk in brownish red color surrounding that. So, what about tornadoes? The SPC currently has a low risk for tornadoes, particularly west of US 131. So places like Traverse City, Grand Rapids. We're going to go ahead and say Kalamazoo as well, down toward Benton Harbor. All right. Very small sliver of Michigan, including parts of Iron Mountain up there in the UP. Can't forget those guys up there. Currently in the 2% risk. Now, okay, we at MSC love to share the SPC and communicate these to you. But today is kind of a rare exception. We're going to kind of disagree with the SPC's risk categories here. Going into the models for tonight, all right, we're going to look at a couple of these, three of these, okay? The main two that we're going to use is the HRRR, which is one of the most common used. Looking at the simulated reflectivity here, all right, we're going to watch out west. We're going to see this squall line develop here in Iowa this afternoon. All right, that's going to be our main focus. That's going to push eastward towards Michigan, develops further south here through Missouri. It's looking pretty nasty out there. But this is at 6 p.m. tonight, okay, mind you. So notice how the day stays dry here in Michigan. Maybe a pop-up shower or storm along the lakes. Possible. Not likely, but it's possible. Those may be severe. Not expecting that, all right? That's for the afternoon. Should stay dry, though. Attention is turned to tonight, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is at 9 p.m. Watch what happens as it gets close to Michigan, guys. It approaches the lake, it splits, and then all of a sudden there's nothing happening in Michigan except parts of probably the UP up there. All right, that's going to arrive here roughly around midnight, just after midnight. But this model says absolutely nothing happens in the lower peninsula. Good news, right? But the UP, though, still gets slammed by that squall line that pulls north. So we'll have to watch the UP close. But I know the majority of you guys watching are from the lower peninsula, which is where the enhanced risk is as well. So currently there's a risk in place, but the model right here does not really think that any storms are going to even happen here in Michigan. So let's look at a few other models, all right? Let's look at the NAM3. The NAM3 is a secondary model that we use sometimes. It can be good sometimes. Most of the time, it's kind of off, but we're going to use it today just for guidance purposes. Looking at this exact same scenario, we're going to see a squall line develop out here in Iowa. It's going to push our way, and by the time it gets to Lake Michigan, it splits, goes into the UP, perhaps northern lower, but notice how the entire lower peninsula here is pretty much dull, nothing happening, all right? So with that being said, let's look at one model that does show something happening. This is called the FV3 model. We don't use this too often. Typically, it's kind of off, same with the NAM3. But this does show something happening here. We're going to highlight this through the time frame here, looking at 4 p.m. here, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Here's 10. It crosses Lake Michigan. It does arrive as a weak squall line there in West Michigan around that 1 to 2 a.m. time frame tonight. All right. So the takeaway from these models here, and notice also how it weakens as it pushes through the state. So by the time it gets to East Michigan over here, there's basically just some scattered showers happening, nothing too major. Takeaway from this is the SPC does have that risk in place for the entire state, But these models are downtrending this to a point where we're becoming less and less concerned for it. But I want to highlight this very well, because with these really big squall lines that we're going to see out here to the west today in Iowa, they are extremely powerful, to put it simply. Okay. These can and sometimes do go a long way, sometimes more than what they're modeled. So, for that reason, we're going to be on our toes today. Just for that reason alone, this could potentially be a day. This could be a long track squall line, intense damaging winds, Iowa, Illinois, Wisconsin. Very possible we could see multiple areas of widespread destructive winds out to our west. But when these squall lines occur, they can produce sometimes like their own environment, so to speak, to sustain themselves. So we're going to be on our toes regardless. But I do want to mention the models this morning and overnight have basically said, Michigan, your threat is pretty much zero. All right, except in the UP. Can't forget those guys up there. But majority of us who live down here in the lower peninsula, the models say nada. All right, which is great news, but we're going to watch regardless, just because these can and sometimes do go longer than expected. So, just for that reason, be on your toes, but also note that these models are coming in. If you're not in the UP, they're coming in pretty dull. All right, great news there, and hopefully it stays that way. Let's hope. All right, the SPC is going to update at 12:30 p.m. Current outlook is this one right here. Entire state is in a risk, highest in the west. So I would agree with this in a sense that the highest risk, if there's going to be one, is going to be within that orange area, perhaps in the southern part of the UP up there where that slight risk is as well. But as we go east with time, we're not going to look at too much of a threat at all. All right. So we'll wait until 12:30. It updates at 12:30 p.m., 4 p.m., and again at 9. So we have 3 more outlooks to get through. They can make adjustments. I would expect them to trim this back probably and maybe lower the overall risk. But again, with these squall lines, they may hang out a little bit longer than expected. We could see that risk continue to develop even though models don't show it. So we're going to watch it regardless. But again, just know that I know I'm repeating myself here, but I want to emphasize that the risk may be lowering. Just don't take it, 100%. I'm not going to get anything tonight. Don't have that mindset. Be aware. We'll have updates on the page, how it's looking, and stuff like that. So we got you guys covered. All right. The further east you are over toward Metro Detroit, Flint areas, your risk over there through the thumb, we'll just say US 23 East looks pretty low tonight. Looking at there's not one model on here that shows this line making it that far. So hopefully that's the case. So the further east you go in Michigan towards Lake Huron, Canada border there, the less your risk becomes. So again, looking at the model for those of you just tuning in here, we're looking at a risk this evening potentially, but the models are not really handling it too well, I guess you can say. There's not a model here that does show anything significant happening tonight, so we're going to keep an eye on that. But you know, these squall lines, I can't emphasize this enough. They can surprise us sometimes. So be on your toes. We'll be on our toes. We're ready to go live later on this evening, but it's going to be late. We're going to be a late night tonight. So we'll have updates as we get closer to this evening. Any pop-up set this afternoon may be strong in nature, although not expecting too many, if any at all. Expect that to happen, if it will, along the lakeshore, where we could have inland lake breezes come inland and spark some thunderstorms there with some provided lift. Overall, though, that chance is low. But if that happens, we're here watching it all day. Got Joel here with me. Also, myself, Nick will be here later. Mike will be back on. If you guys want to watch out-of-state streaming, we may have Chandler out in Iowa with this potential squall line, as well as Rob, one of our partner chasers. We may go live for that out-of-state as long as Michigan's, looking subtle. We'll have to play that by ear. But overall, we'll watch what happens, and we'll play it by ear. All right, guys. So, for those of you asking about your specific areas, it's a very tough forecast. It's complicated. So, the best I can tell you is right now, if you're in the state, be aware the entire state is in that risk. But right now, we're kind of leaning against the SPC guidance right here, thinking that this line that's going to approach us is going to be weak in nature. We could be wrong. I mean, the SPC is more educated than we are by far. We're just communicating these risks to you. But what we're seeing on our personal opinions is more so a lesser risk for Michigan tonight. Oh, welcome Trace to the YouTube channel member. Thank you for becoming a member. And hey, your support is greatly appreciated. Time frame. Let's just go ahead and assume that we are going to experience storms tonight. We have a time frame map posted, and again, this is a big assumption given the latest model guidance, but this is your time frame map. Okay, so red areas along the Michigan Lake Shore there expect arrival roughly from 11:30 p.m. tonight through 2 a.m. tonight. If you're in yellow zones, expect that around 2 to 4 a.m. tonight, and if you're in the green zone, 4 to 6:30 a.m. It's gonna be a late night if this is going to occur, guys. It's a low chance. It looks like it may occur. I'm kind of leaning against it at this point. So, but if you're up in the UP, western part of the UP, you could see early arrival closer to 9 p.m. through 11:30 p.m. up there in the western and central parts of the Upper Peninsula. All right, you can screenshot this. I'll leave it up for about 5 or 10 more seconds for you guys to take a peek at. I'll take it back down and hop into the comments for some more questions. All right, I'm gonna take this down in 3, 2, 1. All right. Possible, Brad, depending on where you're at. Not really seeing much in the way of a pop-up threat, though. I'm gonna say it's possible if you're along the lakeshore, like Metro Detroit, Monroe, Lenawee, Washtenaw counties, and then also US 131 corridor, perhaps, because we have lake breeze boundaries that can provide lift to get storms going. But that chance today is quite low, so we should be dry throughout the afternoon this afternoon. But if we're not, if we go severe, we're ready for it. How many chairs do you think we're going to get in the PO box? Man, I hope one. I hope I get a chair, and I hope Joel gets a desk. That's all I'm going to say. If you guys weren't here last night watching, it won't make sense to you, but most of you guys, I assume, were here watching us. Again, this map is going to update at 12:30 p.m. I don't plan to be live 23 more minutes, but I do assume this is going to be trimmed here, or at least downgraded. Just in my opinion, we'll see what they do with it, but they may also leave it um, with thinking that the squall line may be, longer lived than expected, which is a possibility. I'll say it again. These squall lines that we expect out west today can and sometimes do surprise us with their length and severity. So we will have to play it by ear. But right now, models are saying there's a minimal threat for the lower peninsula tonight, even though there is that enhanced and slight and marginal risk in effect. Did we sleep at all? Yes, I was up until like 4. No, sorry, 3. Just after 2:30, I think between 2:30 and 3, I was up. I was actually up for the SPC Outlook, um, and then I went to bed. And I just woke up about an hour ago. So, new member, thank you, J Maniac 55, for becoming a channel member. Your support is greatly appreciated. As channel members, you guys do get exclusive live streams as well as exclusive forecasts that we provide to our Patreon members as well as our Facebook subscribers as well. So again, guys, anywhere in the state, you're in a risk today. It's going to be highest off to the west per the SPC. I do expect this to shift a little bit and change because the latest guidance that we're looking at models and stuff like that is not really showing too much. So most of lower Michigan is going to be in that yellow level 2 out of 5 risk. Okay. So the highest risk, though, is going to be along that Lake Michigan shoreline, US 131 west, where that orange area is. So areas like Ludington, South Haven, Benton Harbor, Grand Rapids, that area is going to be the most concerning. And also, just an idea, I think we're going to be looking at a more concerning threat through the UP as well, through the southern part of the UP. But the entire state has a risk today. It's just going to be a matter of if these storms can survive. Flint is in the level 2 out of 5 risk. So, yes, you are in a risk. But again, confidence is low that storms make it to you, Jordan. Hail is not a big concern. Your hail risk is right here. So as we can see, just very sliver portion there of Western Michigan in that 5%, which is the lowest risk of hail. Up here in the UP as well, it's a low risk as well. But the highest is going to be off here in Iowa. And Chandler is chasing out there today. He's on what we call a chasecation next week or so. He'll be out there. So we may actually stream if he wants to hop on and stream to our regional page, Great Lakes Storm Chasing Network. If you those of you who want to watch out of state, we may do that. No promises, but we might hop on there and do that. Tornadic risk tonight is very low. Okay, looking at a couple of other things here, diving in a little bit deeper for you guys who are still watching. Looking at the surface instability, right? Looking at the time frame these storms arrive. This is midnight right here. Notice how this area has like these little lines over it versus over here they don't have these lines. I'll zoom in here so I can give you guys a better idea. So over here, the purples are, I guess you can say, brighter. There's nothing covering, but over here we have these little blue lines that go like from left to right, up and down. That indicates capping. All right, so with this arrival of the storm, there's a low chance we could have some strong updrafts try to break through that cap. But the cap tonight should keep things in check and mainly make it a damaging wind threat. Not really thinking it's going to be a tornado risk at all with this, although there is a low risk as they first arrive on shore. I don't think we're going to be looking at that just because we're going to be capped off. And again, pop-ups are possible, but it's an extremely low chance today. Okay, if it's going to happen, it's likely going to happen along the lakeshore areas from like Lake Michigan, perhaps up in the northern part of lower Michigan, like we'll say like Otsego Lake over to Avery, over to Alpena, those areas, and perhaps down there by Metro Detroit area, Monroe, Lenawee, Wayne, Washtenaw counties. We could see some lake breeze boundaries try to spark some showers and storms. Again, low chance, but if you live by the lakes, one of the lakes at least, it's a chance today. Why would the long squall line split before reaching Michigan? Great question. And we can go ahead and dive into that right here on this model. So this is your surface instability, right? Now, notice how we have a big old pocket of yellow out here in Iowa. That's what's going to fuel this. Okay. But as it continues eastward, that yellow turns to blue and blue fades into purples. And that's your weakening instability. Down here is your bar graph. It's kind of hard to see, but purples are the least amount between 0 and 1,000. Blues are between 1,000 and 2,000. Greens are 2 to 3,000, and yellows are 3 to 4,000. So we went from 3 to 4,000 joules a cape, which is your storm fuel out in Iowa. And by the time it gets over here to Michigan, we have under 1,000. So that's going to be the main driving factor of what's going to limit this. Also, the lake is colder. Okay, it's warmer than usual, but it's still on the colder side. So that could definitely help this squall line here by killing lapse rates, which is something something that you're going to need to sustain these storms. So the lake may actually help us tonight. Hopefully, cross your fingers. The further east you go to the Detroit Flint area, the less your risk becomes this evening. That's just because the instability is going to die off very quickly as it reaches the state. It's going to be highest off in the western part, but as we get toward that eastern part there tomorrow morning, if these storms are going to be ongoing, they may reach you by sunrise, but the instability is not going to be there that much. I do see this model trying to increase instability there on the east side, but if there's no storms going on, period, what's going to happen at all? And again, looking at the forecasted radar here one more time, we're going to look at this. There's a nasty squall line out there. It pushes our way, but then it pulls north into the UP, and it leaves the most of lower Michigan dry. And that very well could be a possibility this evening. But again, for those of you just tuning in, these squall lines that are intense like this can and do survive longer than expected sometimes. So be on your toes, but just know that the models are trending downward for lower Michigan. All right. Well, I guess I'll take a vote here in the comments real quick. Should I stay on 15 more minutes for the expected day one outlook? Let me know because I'm ready to hop off here. But if you guys want to stay on and wait for it to pop in with me, I might just go ahead and stay on here. Yes, 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 yes. Oh boy, you guys. All right, I'll stay on here. I will stay on here. All right, get the monitor up here. Looks like they're issuing currently issuing the excessive rainfall outlook right now. It looks like up in the UP and northern Michigan may have some flash flooding concerns this evening, overnight tonight potentially. Actually, they do. They have excessive rainfall. Looks like they have it up in the western UP as a slight risk. So for heavy rain. So if you're up in the UP, could see some flash flooding tonight. But yeah, the SPC outlook is due here in 13 minutes at 12:30. I do expect this to be trimmed or adjusted, or in my opinion, should be downgraded just a bit. But we'll see what they do. Ronald, that's a possibility, but again, for Michigan, I don't think it's going to make it this far. I see a couple people hopping on here, so I'll give a brief rundown here. Number one being the SPC risk here does indicate the entire state is in a risk today. Lowest in dark green areas up in the northern UP and eastern lower Michigan. It's a level 1 risk in those areas. Most of Michigan falls within that level 2 risk, slight risk category in yellow. That's the majority of lower Michigan as well as the portions of the UP. And then they have the enhanced level 3 risk just brushing into West Michigan towards US 131, towards Grand Rapids, towards South Haven, up toward Ludington, Manistee areas. All right. So that's going to be your highest risk according to the SPC. Hazard, damaging winds should be the only concern tonight. Hail, very low chance along the Lake Michigan lakeshore and then the UP. And then tornadoes are unlikely tonight anywhere in the state. But if they were to occur, it would again be toward that Lake Michigan lakeshore by US 131 and areas west. So, other than that, we're kind of leaning against SPC guidance just because models are not really coming in too impressive with this squall line here. Looking at it's going to develop out here in Iowa. Hold on. Okay. It's going to take shape over here in Iowa. It's going to push our way, but notice how it pulls north and it splits. Okay, this is one model we're going to use, a common model that we do often use with this, but notice it just splits lower Michigan here. So UP still has a risk here tonight. We'll be covering that if need be. But down here in the lower part of Michigan, there's nothing happening. If that happens, great news. Second model we're going to look at is the NAM3. It shows a similar picture here. Or these, excuse me, where these lines of storms are going to develop out here in Iowa. It's going to reach us into the UP, but then it splits lower Michigan completely, leaving us pretty much nothing here down in lower Michigan. The only model that really has anything happening is the FV3 model. We don't use this too often, but that does show that squall line out here in Iowa push our way. It does hold together. It does weaken it though. Notice how it weakens significantly, like right here. It's nice and red looking. Hits Lake Michigan, it kind of gusts itself out, but it does still arrive here as an intact squall line, roughly 12 to 1 a.m. In West Michigan, that's going to push through, weakening as it pushes east. All right, so that's a possibility. Takeaway from the forecast today is expect the squall line potentially tonight. Major uncertainty. I'm going to highlight major uncertainty if it's going to hold together to make it through lower Michigan. So if it does, the risk obviously continues. If it doesn't, just keep in mind that there may not be a risk at all tonight. It's like I guess you can say go big or go home. It kind of applies to this in a sense. So the risk is there in place to let people know, hey, it's a possibility. But I'm communicating this to you guys. It may not happen. All right. So don't come at us and say, you guys overhyped this, you guys forecasted this. We hit it all the time here. We try to communicate as best as possible. Both scenarios are possible tonight. Be on your toes. Midnight time frame arrival in West Michigan, up in the UP a little bit earlier, 9:10 p.m. But again, it may not happen. Okay. If it does happen, we're ready to go live. Any point today, any pop-ups that occur, low chance of that happening, by the way, low chance of a pop-up throughout the state this afternoon. But we're ready to go live if anything happens from now up until this arrival of this potential squall line. That's your overall synopsis. All right. And again, I see a couple questions here for Metro Detroit area, Monroe County. So over there towards Detroit, Monroe County, up toward Port Huron, Port Austin, Flint, those general areas further east in Michigan, your risk is quite low just because number one, that squall line shown to not even make it across even into West Michigan. But if it does happen to make it into West Michigan, your instability continues to linger and weaken, should I say, as it pushes east. I got a frog in my throat. Hold on. Excuse me. But if you are in that eastern part of Michigan, your risk tonight is later towards sunrise Wednesday morning, but it's extremely low. It's going to be highly dependent on if that squall line can survive into the state overnight. What model do you prefer? Do you feel is most accurate? Right now, nothing. Nothing. I'm going to say that because even the HRRR right now is not handling things too well. So right now, I don't trust any of these models. And that's what kind of makes this day hard to forecast. So we're going to highlight both scenarios here. The models are trending downward, saying it's going to split. Nothing's going to happen tonight. But again, I'm going to highlight this one more time. These potent squall lines, there's a reason that there's a moderate risk out to our west, guys. Like there is a moderate risk out here in Iowa, parts of Illinois, Wisconsin. We could see a very significant squall line, potentially a derecho out there. It's just going to be a question of how far east that can go. Okay. These can and sometimes do last longer than expected, which is why there's a lot of uncertainty today. But there's a reason that there's a red risk out there, which is level 4 out of 5. Haven't had one in Michigan for a good long time, which is good news, but it's just going to be a matter of if that line of storms can survive. And right now, models are saying no. But we respect it enough to say, hey, it's a possibility because oftentimes models struggle with these types of scenarios. A good example of this a few years ago out in Iowa, we had, I think it was just a marginal risk, level 1 risk, then within like 1 or 2 outlooks, it went to a moderate, and they had one of the most damaging derechos out in Iowa in many years. So it just goes to show you models can uptrend and downtrend very quickly with these types of scenarios. Yeah, Kyle, I remember that too. That was a bust. I remember that day pretty well because I was actually chasing near Plainwell in West Michigan, and that dove south into Illinois and Indiana, completely missed Michigan. So you guys just joining, we're talking about the threat this evening, although we are kind of waiting on the SPC day 1 due here in 5 minutes. The people in chat have spoken, and they would like to stay on and see the new Outlook update. Hopefully it's not late like the last time we tried to wait for this. So if it's 12:40 here, still not issue, I might hop off here. But we're waiting for the new SPC. I'm predicting that they're going to trim back that slight risk, perhaps the enhanced as well. That's my prediction. We'll see what they do, though. If they continue to highlight nothing like changes, I'm going to assume they're thinking that this line's going to last longer than expected, which is, again, a possibility. But again, confidence is just so low with this today. Lynn, great question. Number one being if winds pick up suddenly, if it's sunny skies all around you, you're perfect, right? But if the winds suddenly pick up, you should be seeing like a darker type of cloud structure move in as well. Um, Distant thunder is another good one. Wind shifting, significantly. It's blowing out of the southwest. It shifts suddenly to like to the east to west type of thing. That could be inflow to storms coming in your way. So uptick in winds and wind shifts, distant thunder. Those are good signals to hop inside, check out the radar, and make sure you're good to go. Yeah, Caden, I will be live here. It's only 4 more minutes until it gets issued here. It's supposed to be. And I do have alerts on my phone as well as set up here on the computer so I can see it as soon as it pops in. It'll take a second to translate over to this website here on your screen, but we'll stay alive for it. Yes, I do, Trios. Yes, I do. Okay, assuming that these storms are going to arrive, that's a big assumption. So keep in mind we may not get these storms. UP looks more likely right now than the Lower Peninsula, but this is your timing map right now. Go ahead and screenshot it for your future records. It's also pinned on our Facebook page. I apologize for my squeaky chair. I have uh, motor oil here. I'm going to try to do some surgery on it once I'm off here. So I will try to fix that before we have to go live, if we have to go live later this evening or today in general. So feel free to screenshot this. I will leave it up for a few more seconds here. 3, 2, 1. There we go. You'll get 30 chairs soon, buddy. It'll be okay. I'm curious if we're actually going to get any. I'm really curious. I know some people seemed pretty serious last night, so we'll see. We'll see. I can't fix it now. It's part of the vibe. Oh my goodness. Is there a standard belief on how much CAPE is necessary for big setups or situational type thing? It's definitely situational. Different setups need different types of instability. Um, so for this like squall line, we want to see a lot of instability to support this. We want to see 2,000-3,000 CAPE. So when we have this squall line pushing toward us with only 500 to 1,000 joules of CAPE, it definitely tells us that it should be on a weakening trend for sure. There is still going to be some instability here, so there is some support for it. But with this, we would like to see it a lot higher to have more confidence in sustaining itself. What are your thoughts on Mikasa last night? Microburst or straight line winds? I have not seen much in the way of damage out of that area, so I really can't say. Looking at radar yesterday, we did not see any debris balls or anything like that. So my first initial guess is straight line winds. Typically with tornadoes, you get those debris balls. We didn't see anything yesterday, but there was damage there. Chris Tobias was in that area reporting some evidence of potential rotational damage. But again, we're going to leave that up to our friends at the Weather Service out of Grand Rapids. They will make the call whether it's straight line winds or if it's tornadic damage. Similar to last night's setup, should be higher risk in the west if there's going to be a risk at all. And as that line moves east, it should weaken with time. So it's kind of similar to yesterday. I don't say this in a mean way, but why are you guys watching Ryan Hall, y'all, when you have a Michigan page right here? Just out of curiosity. I have a lot of respect for Ryan, what he does, but we got Michigan covered right here at this page. So why are you guys watching Ryan Hall, y'all? No, I get it. You guys are free to watch whatever you want. He is a good YouTuber. He really is. He has a really good system going on down there. So the last moderate risk we had in Michigan, that's a great question, Killjoy. I think it was back in 2022 or 21. It was 21. Kyle, you in here? I know you mentioned it earlier. If you remember that date, I think that's the last one we had. So if you guys are just tuning in, we're just kind of watching for the SPC Outlook here. It's actually a minute late now. They're gonna make us wait, unfortunately. But that is what we're waiting on here. Out of curiosity, while we wait, for those of you in chat, are you guys curious and wanting to see out of state coverage today? Coverage as in like storm chasing, because we have Chandler out there in the moderate risk in Iowa today. So we can always potentially go live as long as Michigan is clear at that point. We can always go live with Chandler and get you guys some live storm chasing out that way. So if you guys want to see that, let us know. I see mix. I see no, just Michigan. Yes, yes. So if we were to stream this, it would be on our secondary account that we utilize for like out of state operations. If our chasers are chasing Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, Wisconsin, sometimes Iowa or surrounding states as well, we'll go live on the other account. I'll drop that name in chat for you guys who want to go follow it. If you guys want to watch it. Again, not promising we're going to go live, but if we do, it'd be on the other account. So I just dropped that name in chat. You can search it on YouTube and or Facebook. We are on both. We stream to both. So feel free to go give that a follow. But again, that's up to you guys. If you want to go, if you guys want to see chasing out of state and stuff like that, you're welcome to go follow. Awesome, Carrie. I know many of you in chat here probably already know about it and already follow it. So we don't utilize it too often, especially when Michigan's been active like it has. Like we haven't been posting on that for a couple days now, but the focus is Michigan and always will be Michigan for you guys. So we are now 3 minutes late here at SPC. They're going to make us wait till 1 o'clock again, aren't they? It's like they watch us. As soon as that MSC channel goes offline, we're going to hit the post button. I talk to a few of the SPC forecasters on Twitter sometimes, so they're pretty cool. But I guarantee you they're not watching streams. Yeah, I'm not sure who's going to issue it, Hannah. If it's Broyles. Usually when it's late, though, they're making adjustments. So this may mean we're going to have an adjustment somewhere, maybe in Iowa, or it could be here in Michigan as well. So we'll see what they do. It's late. It's due 4 minutes ago. It should pop in anytime. Amy, thank you for becoming a channel member. Appreciate your support of the channel. Yeah, Liz is nice. There's Evan Bentley. There's Liz Elizabeth Leitman. Um, there's Chris Broyles. There's one more, Evan. I want to say his name is Evan. He's on Twitter as well. But yeah, they're on Twitter there. They interact a lot with the weather Twitter, so to speak, side of things. I don't think it's going to go high risk out to the west of us. I don't think that's going to happen. How do you become a channel member? I can drop the link in chat. You have to, I believe, be on a computer or Android. iPhone does not give you the option, but the link should still give you a prompt to sign into a YouTube account and then get a membership via that way. So let me go ahead and drop this in the YouTube chat here. Let me go ahead and copy paste this. The SPC is still not issuing. For those of you just tuning in, we're kind of waiting on the SPC here. The chat has voted to wait. We have a risk potentially this evening for Michigan. Right now, it has the entire state of Michigan in a risk, but we think that the risk is decreasing. Perhaps still one risk up there in the UP and maybe Western Michigan as well with that squall line first arriving. But overall, the risk I think is going to be tied to our west and perhaps the UP as well. My prediction, they're going to trim that slight back. They may keep the marginal just to be safe for like pop-ups today, and maybe if that line does come through, but they should trim that slight risk back and perhaps the enhanced as well. Greenville did sustain a lot of damage last night. Okay, thank you, McCollum County. Make sure that NWS Grand Rapids knows about that if you have any details. We are now 7 minutes late. They are going to be late again, guys. Why is it always late when we're on here trying to watch it? Makes no sense. June 13th, 2022 was the last date of a moderate risk in Michigan. Thank you, Kyle. And also, for those of you who are keeping an eye on Wednesday, we did mention a few days ago that Wednesday may be a concern. It is not looking that way anymore. So tomorrow should be a-okay once we get past sunrise. By noon, that cold front should be moving out of the area, and with it, any risk for storms and or severe weather. This is your instability wind shear overlap here. Here's Wednesday at 2 p.m. We see just a sliver of Michigan here. Oh, it scared me. They issued a day one fire weather outlook. They did the fire outlook first. Come on. Oh, I just got the notification for it, but it's not the SPC day one. Goodness. But anyway, Wednesday afternoon there, East Michigan, low risk. We're gonna say that right now. The risk for the SPC for Wednesday is right here. And the light green is just general thunderstorms. Dark green is just off to our south and east. It actually brushes Luna Pier, Monroe County. So it just barely brushes Michigan. Back to our SPC here. Still waiting. We are now 8 minutes late. Pamela, thank you for becoming a channel member. Appreciate your support of the channel. Really appreciate you guys who decide to support us here. It really goes a long way. As you know, we don't talk about our finances too often, but this isn't free to do. You know, we have to pay for software, we have to buy equipment, stuff like that, miles, wear and tear on the car. So we appreciate all of you who not only just subscribe, be a member, but hit the like button for us, share our stuff. It definitely helps us as we get a little bit of kickback from YouTube and Facebook for our posting. Nothing significant though, unfortunately, but every like counts, every comment counts, every share does count. How long do I wait is now the question. We are now 10 minutes into waiting for the SPC. It was 10 minutes ago. Has Michigan ever had a level 5 out of 5 threat? Yes. November 17th, 2013, we had a high risk in Southwest Michigan. That has been the last one. As long as it takes. I have really nothing going on here. So I am free to sit here. Although I don't want to be on stream, for too much longer. We've been on for, almost an hour, 45 minutes right now. So would like to get up and stretch my legs, get a little bit of maybe a workout in or something. I've been cooped up last 4 days, 5 days. I've lost count. We've been live for the past at least 4 days here on the page covering some sort of severe weather. I am just north of Luna Pier. So, Amy, I definitely say if you're in that eastern Michigan side of things, pay attention, but I don't think it's going to be much of anything unless this slows down even further. At that point, yeah, we'll worry more at that point, but right now it's not looking that way. It's definitely possible, Melissa. It's a 50-50 shot at this point. Models say no, but again, these significant squall lines that are going to push through. Oh, in Iowa, excuse me. These squall lines that like to push through can and sometimes do surprise us in overall severity and length that it tracks. So we're on our toes. We're going to stay on our toes. We're not going to let our guard down, as you guys shouldn't either. But just know models are saying no right now. No threat for lower Michigan. We will likely go live later this evening, probably close to 7, 8 o'clock for an update, assuming that there's no severe weather happening in the state from pop-up storms, which are a low possibility today. But we'll probably go live to explain how things are looking right around that time frame, and also expect multiple posts through the day explaining things as best as we possibly can. The SPC is late, 12 minutes and counting. Last time we waited for this, we waited until 30 minutes after, and as soon as we got off, it got issued. Yes, Brad. If you go to our Facebook page and scroll on the pinned post, we have an awesome post up there explaining the activity this year and why we expected it to be a more active season. We posted that back in February before the season even got started. So it looks like it's coming into fruition quite well. But if you go to the Facebook on the featured or pinned post, you scroll right, there is your SPC day one, just got issued. So that is going to be the fourth post on the featured section. So yes, we do have the updated SPC guidance here. Let's wait for it to load in on our end of things here. It's not loaded yet. As a reminder, this is what we did have. All right, let's see if it changed any. Thank you, Joy, for becoming, or sorry, thank you, Joy, for the super sticker. You are already a member, I see, but appreciate your support there with the super sticker. All right, take a mental note of what you're seeing here on your screen. This is the old Outlook. Let's go ahead and compare this. Actually, let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and save this image. And let's bring this in so we can save and compare. Let's go back here. Still not updated. Okay, it just hit. Yeah, just hit the IAM website, so it should hit this momentarily. There it is. No change. They did not change it. All right, that's your overall categorical risk. I don't think it changed at all. Let's save this image and let's compare the two. So this is the old right here. And this is the new. They did not change a single thing with that. All right, interesting. Let's take a peek at our probabilities here. The 2% tornado risk still in effect for the West US 131 corridor. I'm a little shocked they didn't change this, but I'll read through their text here and see what they're thinking. No change there. Looking at the hail probability, not updated yet. This one also. We're going to wait on that. Let's read the discussion here. It is updated. Let's look at this real quick. Find this part. It talks about Michigan, if any at all. Do they even talk about Michigan? They don't. Okay, later tonight, storms should begin to gradually outrun the corridor of favorable instability in the evening after crossing Mississippi River, but may remain well organized in terms of severe wind threat across Lake Michigan. So they're saying that the line's going to move across Lake Michigan with intact severe probabilities there. So that is your SPC thinking. There's your updated hail. No change. They basically just left us the same, guys. No change to the SPC outlook at all. With that being said, I think we're safe to hop off here. We'll go live again and post updates at the 4 p.m. outlook. No change there. Latest guidance on the model here. This is your latest guidance here showing similar story here. UP gets slammed up there around the 9-10 p.m. time frame, but doesn't show anything crossing Lake Michigan. So I guess the SPC is banking on this squall line surprising us, and I guess we're going to prepare for that. But just so you guys know, 50-50 shot here. It may or may not happen. Be prepared. Midnight tonight is your arrival time for West Michigan if it's going to happen. All right. We'll go live 7-8 p.m. tonight for an update. If anything's changed, we'll let you guys know. So you guys have a safe afternoon. Be sure to hit the like button on your way. Wow. Be sure to hit your like button on your way out. And I will see you guys this evening and perhaps low chance of a pop-up severe this afternoon. That's a very low chance. So, all right. You guys have a great afternoon.